Okay, we just spent about 10 minutes discussing logos. Um, and I'll go through the statements and you guys back up if I missed anything. So I really like the font with the lowercase here with the Test Genius. Uh, the brain is growing on me, but I'm not sold on that yet. I was just going to jump in and say that, that could be, uh, a side graphic somewhere that, if we had a separator line and maybe the brain goes at the end of the line smaller or something like that, might be an interesting adaptation. I don't know, something to think about and hang on to. I don't want to lose that concept, so maybe get her to do a larger version of that or an SVG that we can hang on to for down the road. Whatever final we do in these, let's make sure we get our various pieces in SVG because that makes it insanely scalable. I don't think any of us were sold here, although that was the first adaptation of my idea. And I had gone over and I had shown the sketched idea, which the big one is that I don't know, in my brain, I see those gaps in the pencil graphite horizontal. I don't see them vertical. I don't know, maybe that's a left-handed person versus right-handed person. I don't know, but where that comes from. It's stuck in my head that way. The question came up of size, that these probably are going to be smaller, which hides a lot of detail. And I did say that, we have to account for social previewing on GitHub. So here we're talking 640 by 320 as a minimum. So that whatever logo we have is going to have to be a bit larger. Then we talked about the solid underneath the check versus the break underneath the check. I like the break underneath the check, but I could go either way on it. I think I'd rather have the sketchy pencil horizontal than the break under the check, if I had to pick between one of the two. I did mention that I do have an artist that works on some stuff for me on a regular basis, and he is a week into a 2-week project for me. And this is the kind of thing, if I threw it at him, he could take it and have us completed all the sizes we needed, all the versions we needed, probably in about 3 days. So that's a possibility too. And then I think we had talked about lightening that check into a silver range. And then the last thing we talked about was, we've got all these kind of cool colors in the brain, and maybe something like that comes into the check using it as a secondary color. Although purple and green seems like an awfully bright, abrasive color set. I would like to keep the green because I'm thinking like Scantron green check, but the Scantron green is actually a fairly dark green. So maybe a purple with a darker green might be the route to go.
Dylan had also brought up the fact that we could change the background to actually change the contrast on the check.
Well, that's true too. I mean, there's nothing saying, and the other side is there's nothing saying the banner has to match the rest of the body background color too. I mean, there's a lot we can adjust in there too. So I don't think we've decided anything other than we need some more potential options. And then I think just before I realized I wasn't recording in the first 10 minutes, I had said, or I think actually Catalan had said that, tough to make a decision, especially with Katie not here, who's been doing a lot of this, but Katie's going to get to watch the video anytime she wants. Decisions to be here. I know people have things going on. We're hunting for jobs and stuff like that. Speaking of that, Catalan, I passed your name on to a recruiter today, who's not on that list of recruiters that I gave you the other day.
I guess I can throw this into the video. Anybody who's watching,
Sure.
check your links because apparently my GitHub link on my LinkedIn page has been broken for like a month, which means it was also broken in my resume. So all the work I did in the last month went in the trash.
Ouch.
Check your links.
Okay. Well, there's learning is an important piece of what we do here. Okay, so we haven't really decided anything other than we would love to see more options. And I want to call out and thank Katie because I mean she has just hammered idea after idea after idea. Um, if whether you got graphic skill or not, throw it out there. That was one of the things I was talking with Dylan about. You don't have to have graphic skill. I mean, I have no graphic skill,
And
and
she obviously does. She took
I,
your idea and
yeah,
turned it
I
into,
sketched this and handed it off and said, somewhere in the back of my head, I could see I mean, I would have taken this and gotten rid of the pencil lines in the background or the dotted lines, and that'd be enough for me. I'd be happy. Yeah, she took this and made it into something. So if you have that weird idea, even if you can't do it, do that mutant animal drawing sketch and hand it off to somebody like Katie that might be able to take it and run with it a little bit and see what we can come up with. If the team is okay with it, I probably will take whatever we end up with. I'll take our top idea. Now, like if we go with the brain, there's probably not a lot that has to happen there. But if we go with any of the other routing on this or any of the other ideas that might come up, I will pass it on for the final polish with my artist just to fine tune it. Okay. I'm not trying to insult Katie in any way. Her graphic skills are awesome. What she's done for us so far is way beyond anything I ever could have done. I like having the finalized at some point in there too. So we'll see what we can do there. So looking at the board, that puts us in active on the images. And I know the HTTP8, it got in, right? It got merged. Or no, they haven't. I don't think they've even opened a PR yet on that branch, have they? Let's go take a quick peek. We have 15 branches. Probably ought to start cleaning up the branches. This is something I do too. All right, so let's see what we have in all branches. And it should stand out as something like this, where there it is, color theme. So yeah, it's never been merged. Okay. So one of the things that I do on a regular basis in most of our repos is anything that's really more than 2 weeks old, you start to dump off. You don't have to, but keeps things clean. I'll probably leave them live on here. Okay. It doesn't cost us anything to have that out there. The history and being able to see all that of all the commits still ends up being around. Okay. Trying to think. So we got that one that needs to roll in. We've talked through those. This might be a really short meeting at this point. Let's see. At some point we need to have Jack's joining us. Good. At some point we need to have a discussion of hosting backend database. I'm still not sold on it, but I'm not going to say no. I see some of the potential benefits. What are our thoughts there? We'll bring that up to the backlog. Just have a quick discussion now, since we have a few minutes, and we can expand on that down the road. I'm not a backend guy, so we're not going to be doing Java. We're not going to be doing .NET. It will probably be Node. Let's see.
Mostly what we know is Heroku, and it handles Node real well, but it also costs money. So
Okay. Well, see how bad we're going to get beat up on it.
I know what I use is like $5 a month, but I think that's like their lowest tier, so it kind of spins
Well,
up a bit slow. And
that might be where we're at initially. Let's see
yeah,
our
you
price
go in basic.
estimator. Okay. And so, all right. So odds are we're going to be in this range.
Yeah.
And if we get to this range, having a database in would mean we got several schools and folks that are utilizing the app. At which point, maybe we can see about getting funding or donations or however we opt to go that route. I don't foresee initially being much more than eco and basic without too much trouble. So let's see what we're looking at. I don't even know what it's dyno hours. Okay. We're deploying with Git. Git and Docker. Do we have to Dockerize our app?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I have a domain, so we can point it over. Shouldn't be hard. Don't have to worry about containers.
When Vercel went, or not when Heroku went paid, a lot of people jumped to Vercel and Railway, I believe.
I use
think
Railway. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
I think of the two, people liked Railway better.
I'm not necessarily looking for free. I mean, I can absorb some, right? And see, basic might actually do a lot of what we're looking at because it gives us SSL, never sleeps, includes all the eco features. So you're maxing out at $7 a month. We might be under that. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to say Heroku. I'll make sure to put it on the card. Basic.
Now that I see the basic pricing like that, I should probably upgrade to basic.
Well, you need to check. I mean, it might be between 5 and 7. That might be their bottom end or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you had limited use and it came out to 50 cents, that's good. That's something I wouldn't mind that. So backend, we'd be talking Node. I mean, I'm okay with going document DB, but that's not my primary experience. My primary experience is in SQL databases.
Yeah, so if we do SQL, there will be a lot of teaching.
Yeah, I can handle that.
Okay.
The core of what we're going to do in SQL and breaking up the tables would be pretty straightforward. Which database were you guys using? Mongo?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I'm not experienced enough to know which one would be better for this situation.
We can do a MySQL. That's an interesting implementation. npm install MySQL. That's a different way of doing it. I would not have guessed MySQL. I mean, I know MySQL inside and out. I've used it for years, but I don't know that would have been the first one I would have thought of for Node. There's Node SQL DB. Don't know what that is. Database integrations for Express. That gives a list. So let's go to, I don't care about that guy. I don't know who they are. Oh, well, there's a nice long list.
Nice.
So MySQL is on the list, and it's pretty high on the list. I haven't worked with Cassandra or Couchbase. I've heard Couchbase, Couch are pretty good. Like Oracle, Postgres, Redis. Those are going to be, I think, brutally above what we need. SQL Server, SQLite. I mean, I'd use MySQL over SQLite with some of the experience I've had there in the past. So it sounds like MySQL it is, and there's an npm install. It'll take some research for me to get us set up to do that. So let's put that together, and we probably ought to do like a session or two and build something up, build out a mock database and figure out what we want it to look like and things like that. I guess I did give us a whole new line for that, right? Which means we need to create a couple of cards. So, but the whole concept here would be, we need to rethink a little bit how we want to structure things, because we're going to need login, we're going to need auth, and that kind of stuff. And as far as working with the database, I can figure that side out. Okay. I haven't done auth stuff in a long time. So that's going to be on you guys. Okay. Wiring it
Yeah.
into the front end, we'll figure that one out together. Okay.
Mhm.
It's something pretty fresh in our minds,
Mhm.
storing that in Mongo.
All right. So we'll put that in as an early thing to do then. Okay. But what I want to think is we're going to have, we got several different states I can see user accounts being in. So we can have potentially an adult account. We can potentially have a parent account that would then set up child accounts. You could potentially have a teacher account that could set up child accounts. And the teacher and parent can share those accounts. Should be able to in some way. You know, if you add the parent's email and it sends out and says, hey, you've been invited to, you know, so that both sides can see. So if I set up one for my son, the school picks it up. His teachers can access that account that I created for him without having to go through any hoops. It gets a little weird then
Yeah.
as we start to look
Yeah.
at
How far down the line do you think we're gonna implement like this type of feature or like what you're describing?
I don't know.
Um,
I don't
yeah.
know. I think at this, you know, initially we just go with you creating that student account,
Mm,
right? The adult account is basically a student account without any controls. Nobody can watch their account. That to me is the only differentiator between an adult account, somebody that would
mm,
use the system as an adult versus a parent. You know, parent teacher, those are, I'm able to look at summary statistics, not full data set. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, I don't, you know, we don't need all that right away, but we need to think it through. We need to model some of that stuff out. The modeling will really help with structuring our tables and our queries. We'll probably want a flattened set of the data. And man, anybody that's ever looked at flattened data, it's scary as all get out. But the nice part about flattened data is what flattened data means is I have tables and I join them, right? So, and we haven't gotten into the heavy parts yet, but let's say there are a lot of different options in the way tables can be joined. You can have every record over here, every single record over here can be connected to multiple records in another table. So that's a one-to-many relationship. You can have a many-to-one relationship. You can have a many-to-many relationship. Okay, so what a flattened table means is it says, hey, irregardless of relationship type, you take one record over here and one of those many over here, and you connect it up, and you make a table that has all of that data for that one possibility of where all the data connects per row. Flattened data, so what you end up with is you have these nice isolated little tables that really minimize how much data you have to store. The flattened version is the exact opposite. It is the absolute largest amount of data you wind up having to store. But the flattened data gives you the advantage that filtering and sorting for reporting becomes insanely fast because you don't have to join all these things. It's already all, the data is all joined. It's all flattened out. It's all, you've gotten rid of all those links in between. So reporting becomes insanely fast with a flattened table. So if we're going to have people that monitor, we need to take that into account at some point. And so what we'll have to do is set up, we'll have to see if MySQL can do it. Our node might have to. But usually what you'll do is you'll set your database up in a way that you have triggers. So when a new piece of data gets put in here, you generate all the associated flattened pieces that you need. And it's an automatic thing. It'd be nice if we can do that. I don't know if MySQL can download this version of MySQL can do it. We'll have to find out. Okay. But yeah, we'll need to set up the hosting. But before we do that, we can operate with a node MySQL locally, and start to wire things together, figure out how they're going to work together. Once we get it out on Heroku, then we get our domain connected in. I don't know how we're going to handle subdomains and that kind of stuff, whether that's through Heroku or GoDaddy, where my domain is. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Okay. Yeah. So this means I need a bunch of new cards. We got a little bit of time. I have to leave in like 5 minutes till, because my son's got trumpet lesson, and I get to watch my daughter because apparently last night, to get her to go to sleep, I promised to take her to the park today.
Nice.
It gets dark in like an hour. I was going to take her to Chick-fil-A for dinner, and she can play in the player. That I suspect will be good enough. All right, so let's create a couple of cards. So we need a hosting card, we need a backend card, we need a database card. All right. Hosting. So the hosting is going to take into account a couple of different things. Backend node and database. Oh, MySQL. So let's start with a node card, because I think that's one you guys could probably jump in on the fastest, right? And I'm going to give this 5 points right off the bat. We normally vote on it, that kind of stuff, but I'm going to say 5 points, because what I'm going to say in here is we need, well, I'm assuming we need Node Express, right? Do we need Express?
We want Express. It makes it a lot easier to deal with Node.
Okay. But we realize we're not hosting our app through the node. The node is going to give us access to API endpoints.
Yeah.
Would be the way I would prefer to set it up.
I think it might be easier with Express because that's generally how we know to interface with Node.
That's fine.
Also...
That's fine. Here's what here's what we want to figure out how to do. Okay, so we know we need auth, right? We need an initial API endpoint. And all of our APIs should be referenced, whatever our domain is. So localhost 4200/API/. Now, for purposes of our local, the port can be different than what our app is running from, or Angular app. Okay, so the port can be different. We can wire it in. You kind of saw in the config, we can set that up for localhost specifically. Let's put one endpoint in initially to send back a mock set of data, right? So in our app right now, we have test.json. So what if we copy this file over to our backend and we have API/tests, and this is what it returns initially. We don't have to worry about database. We just set it up, get the auth working, figure out how to get the auth working on the front end, and all the pieces pass back and forth. So we know we can't get to it without authentication. The front end figures out how to get the authentication, and the two pieces start talking to each other, and that one file can get sent back. So it'll be /API/tests returns copy of tests JSON in the front end assets folder. Yeah, I did say copy, right? Yeah. Is this something we think, yeah, so we do this, and part of what I'd like this card to be too is to figure out how to utilize that auth, at least initially, even if it's manual. With Angular. Okay. I'd like to see how you do it with React. So maybe we can dig in on somebody's React project with it fully wired up.
I have bcrypt set up just with Node and just vanilla JavaScript. So I don't know how to transfer that over to Angular, but I'm actually looking it up right now. Because bcrypt was very plug and play for us.
Okay. Well, I mean, and it might not be something that Angular has to do a lot of thought about. Okay. I'm assuming there's some token that the front end has to get based on some key, right? And once we get that token, we get it from, usually I get it from a secondary source in most of the enterprise apps I do. And I submit that token based off that key there. It sends me back a new token, and that token is what I then use to the back end. I said, hey, I'm authorized. Here's my token. You check that with that secondary service. Is that the kind of thing you guys were doing?
I don't think it was quite that involved. I'm looking at some code right now.
I only did simple authorization with like local storage tokens. I didn't.
Okay, so what's the tooling you used?
Bcrypt.js.
Spell it.
/JS. Bcrypt. Yeah. So it just salts everything for you. Looking through here. It's been a while since we've actually dug into it.
Oh, this is just hashing passwords.
Yep.
So what were you doing? You were asking for a password, you hashed it on the front end, sent it to the back end, stored that?
Now you're going to make me bring up my Mongo. This is good, though, because I have not actually looked at this project in a long time.
Okay.
Check out my documents to see exactly what we're storing here.
I think this is going to be a lot lighter than what we need.
That's fair enough.
Let's see.
It is very simple, and that's why we used it.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering.
Yeah. Are you looking for something like it's called like Passport for the
maybe
it's like Passport JS has a bunch of like authentication strategies for Node.
I mean, one of the ones that I used, and this is, I mean, Jot Token is the one I normally work with. Okay. It's full authentication authorization. We can use Jot.io to decode, verify, and produce Jot tokens. So the question is how do we use this with Node? So they're saying prereqs. You need, this is a tutorial. JavaScript and Node, basic understanding of Mongo or database of your choice. Good. Know how to use Postman. Okay. I'm going to assume you guys know how to do that.
Yep.
Open VS Code. Navigate to directory code. Yep, got it. They just opened that. Make directory, create directory, npm init the directory. Good. Blah, blah, boring stuff so far. Model middle. Wow, I didn't know you were going to make directory that way. That's interesting. Okay, so he's making a database, an auth.js, and a user.js. All right. And he's got an app and index. All right, so he ends up with this. I can create that same thing. That's not a problem. I haven't seen anything radical yet. And here he's installing Mongoose Express.
Mongo, yeah.
And we're going to do ours instead. That's okay. There's Express. There's the JSON web token. Dot environment. There's your bcrypt he's bringing in. So we're going to create a node server to connect to the database. Okay, easy enough.
Yeah, this is all the stuff we're very used to.
Yep. And I'm wondering if you could do these with async awaits would be one that, because Node can do async await. It's a little different, but it can do it. So here's the Jot app. So he's using a dot environment to grab some configuration.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
And he's requiring the database config connect. So he's requiring this.
Yeah.
Yep. Starting up Express. There's App Express. He's using Express. And he's exporting it with logic in between. Got it. Okay.
I feel like I'm back
so
in
that's
class
the
right
app.
now.
I'm just, I don't know that this is the way we're going to go, but I just want to see how complicated what we're talking about is. So we've got HTTP, we're requiring app, we're creating a server based on that app. The app was the one we just worked on. He's putting it on an API port, which he's setting in the environment. And he's listening for that port, telling us the server's
See,
running. Okay.
That's how we chose right up there where we set the port, whether or not we used the host port or our local port.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right.
Exactly. So he's setting up an initial one, the Mongo database URI. Okay, so he's got a couple of scripts in his package JSON, right? Start node index, dev node mon index, and unit tests. Okay. So Mongo model. We're not going to worry about models yet. I don't know that we're going to have to look at MySQL this way and see how it works. What do we have? So, all right. So he's setting up here. He's setting up posts. So like this is the login. So our login logic goes in here, right? Registering a user goes in here. Got it. Pretty standard stuff so far, right? So registered user, it brings in first name, last name, email, password, basic stuff. I would hope the password's encrypted before it's sent, but we'll find out. So he's using truthies to check to see if any of them are empty, it would come back and you send the 400. There was an error. Okay, get that. It's kind of a cute way to do it. Do they already exist? Return. Oh,
Yeah, they're using bcrypt also.
they are, but what bothers me is you're sending the password in the clear. I would have thought the password would have been encrypted on the front end sides before it's sent to the back end. I mean, my guess is we're sending a password in the clear with this one.
Yeah, that's what the hashing is, though, isn't it?
Yes, but you're not hashing till it hits node.
Oh, I gotcha.
We should be hashing in Angular, sending it back here and storing that hashed version of the password. When the database pulls the password to verify on a login, the front end should re-encrypt what their new password is. It's the same encryption, so it should be the same encrypted password. You send that back to backend, so you're only comparing encrypted to encrypted.
Yeah.
You don't actually send it in the clear.
What we're sending to the database, basically. But I see what you're saying. It needs to be hashed before it even gets to node.
Yeah.
So it goes from the front end to node to.
You're hashing it when it goes into the password, and that's fine. I get that. Okay. So let's see what we're doing here. So he's doing something simple there. There's the encrypted password. So he's doing something very similar. I'm okay with that. He's probably using email as username. Okay, so he creates a Jot token based on the email and the token key that comes out of the environment. It's one of the environment sets. So this Jot token that's created, the other piece that you get here, what this means is that Jot token's only live for 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours they get logged out. Okay.
Right.
They save the user token on the user, and then they send the user information JSON stringified back as a 201. I like that. It's not bad. I mean, other than the encryption and the password, I like that. So then login, an email and password comes in. We're doing checks, make sure that the user exists. They do a bcrypt compare of the current password and the password. See, you're still sending the password in the clear, I think. So I'll have to look at that. I'm going to have to look at bcrypt and see if, let me make a note on that. Because maybe, I mean, I may be talking out of my butt here, I don't know. But maybe I can use bcrypt in Angular.
Yeah, I've got an example of it being used in Angular, but I'm trying to look up if it's like where it is hashing the actual password.
Well, here's a starter project that hashes it. So this is an Angular bcrypt project that's on Stack Blitz. And what did he do? He brought in bcrypt. Okay. As bcrypt, that's okay. He salted. He created a salt. Encode timestamp key, and then he created a raw string. All right. Timestamp, salt plus timestamp. Encode the password raw string with that salted key. So it creates a hash sync, which is your encoded password. And then we should have a console log here that had some, oh, come on, what did you do? There we go. The salted pass looks like that, and compared 2 times said it was false. And, but if you salt,
So from what I'm reading is the back end is where you want to salt it, because if you hash them on the front end, you are vulnerable to a pass the hash attack.
so we want to send passwords in the clear to the backend. That seems sketchy. So, okay, so
I'm reading more.
okay, I see that.
Okay, so an eavesdropper does not
Okay.
know what the client and server are sending to each other.
Well, yeah, but I want to see this one. How do I safely send it from the back front end of the backend? Okay. So you're right. It does say,
TLS.
but I wonder if we can simplify this. If we just do a basic encryption of the password from the front end to the back end, we don't salt, right?
Yeah.
We just encrypt. It's easier to decrypt, but it'd be less vulnerable from being in the clear.
Then we'd have to
Although-
decrypt them later, which makes them
Although theoretically,
vulnerable again.
if we're on HTTPS, it should be relatively secure. I mean, that's what HTTPS is, secure
That
assignment layer.
provides security for the transport layer only.
Yeah. But no, I mean, somebody intercepting the transport layer, it's going to be encrypted.
But again, we would have to decrypt the password again, making it vulnerable
No,
again.
no. I don't think it would have to. No, that's what I'm saying is, I think if we just encrypted and sent it, it's changed enough that it's not in the clear, the password that they used. That way, I don't know,
This is a tough subject.
it is. It's a pain in the butt. So we know not to decrypt on the front. We know this is a correct pattern to use, although the wrong database. For what are we doing here? auth token with jot. So the only thing we're missing here is we want to do it with MySQL, right? So let's see if we can find an auth node SQL example with the right. Probably should hang on to that article just in case, right?
From what I see,
I have 3 minutes left, guys.
all right.
No, I think I know you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're right. And this example has, oh, there it is with MySQL. That's exactly what we're looking for, isn't it? Node REST APIs example with Express, SQLize. I don't know what SQLize is in MySQL.
SQLize is like the mongoose for
Promise-based.
SQL.
Well, okay, yes, okay. Promise-based Node RM supports the dialects Postgres. Okay, so I don't know that we need SQLize, but I don't know. We'll see what it is. So here's how to do get post deletes, that kind of stuff. It doesn't. Where's auth? So I'm assuming he's got auth in here. Create the node app. Package JSON looks like this. Oh, that's just keywords. Okay. Cores. Origin. Got it. Blah, blah, blah. I like the other one because it showed us how to log them in, log them out, all that kind of stuff. Initialize, SQLize. Why are we initializing SQLize? I don't know. Sync. Define the SQLize model. I don't really want to go all that route for MySQL, but we'll see. Okay, so he's setting up essentially CRUD. Creates an object, retrieves an object, update an object, delete an object. Yeah, CRUD. Define your routes, which we will have to define routes, but I don't see anything here for login. And I'm missing the security side of it here. Okay. So it's getting better. How to authenticate users by MySQL and jot. There we go. Nice snippets.com. I gotta go like now, guys, and I'm looking at this going, okay, here we go. Creating tables. That's what I'm familiar with. Creating Node Express. Create database node app. Okay, so we might have to have a couple things installed. Not a big deal. Connect to the database. Install Express required modules. So what are we installing? We have Express Validator, MySQL, body parser, JSON web token, jot, bcrypt, and cores. Good. Boy, we're bringing in a lot of stuff. Okay. Cool. The first thing you get, 500 internal server. Good. Validation router DB connection. Good. Here's your sign up validation, your login validation. So running checks using the Express validator. Got it. I like that. So you get messages back if they're not right. I kind of like this one. Or email. He's finding them in the database. He's querying it. Handling errors, handling results. There's error. Username is available. I mean, this is ugly. I think we can clean that up. Yeah, this is using. I suppose I say in the DB query format for MySQL, but inside here we should be able to clean this up quite a bit.
Yeah, just bookmark it. We'll get back to it. You got stuff to do.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah, get users. Well, But here's the thing: is we'll have those tokens that get passed around. So when they get logged in, you get a token back. So anytime you request an API access, other than log in and create a new account, we then validate that data as it comes through. We validate that token. We check to see that it's still live. If it's not live, they've been logged out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, so bookmark that. I'm going to, oh, geez. Sorry, it sounded like somebody fell on my head there. I'm not quite sure what's going on upstairs. Good thing to add to the recording, right? All right, guys. I booked Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday next week. So those are already on the calendar. We'll see you guys, hopefully one of those, and we'll build the next piece.